Welcome back to the latest episode of In the Flat Podcast. I'm your host, Tony Kill, joined as always by Justin Jordan. And we're bringing you our podcast right before week 0. So we actually have some football this weekend. It's not going to be good football, but it will be football. So we'll talk a little bit about the week 0 matchups, give our winners of, I guess I would say the 5 biggest matchups. We'll just pick the best of the best, I guess, out of the worst there. Before we get started, we'll start with our opening drive here. Some of the biggest stories of the week. Obviously, all timelines are flooded by NFL players returning to college, transferring from Cleveland Browns to LSU, and I think most of the players are going to LSU. It feels like Lane Kiffin is just picking up everybody that's off of an NFL team. It seems like, and so that has led to, I think every conference at this point has given a statement saying that they're not allowing this to happen unless they follow like certain guidelines of not being signed, not being in an NFL training camp, that kind of thing. I think there's still so many different court cases going on. I don't think it's by any means settled. And the crazy thing is, the week starts soon. So if they don't, they have to be on a roster. It's my understanding they have to be on the 105-man roster the day before their first game. So if this is not settled by the time they go to their first game, then they won't be on the team. So it's going to be interesting what happens as we go forward. But you guys have any thoughts on this craziness that's out there, NFL and college?
I'm happy to see that it seems like the Big Ten was the first, SEC followed, and then I think the ACC did as well today.
Big 12
Uh,
a good day too.
okay, yeah, so it seems like they're all falling in step there and being like, nah, we can't be having this. I wound up having a conversation with a buddy of mine about this yesterday after the Big Ten, and then there was like no news of anyone else seemingly following quite yet at that point. So I was like, is the SEC in particular going to try and take advantage of this? But it's nice to see that no one's kind of standing for this, and it's going to hopefully be kind of like wiped out pretty
Really quick.
quickly.
Yeah.
And like maybe some group of 6 teams will take the occasional straggler there, but none of the major powers where this is going to be one of those like, well, they only won the national championship because they had a team full of guys who were like about good enough to make an NFL right. Like it's we're not going to have any of that. So that's pretty good.
Jordan, any thoughts on this one before we move forward?
No, just said it all. But like the biggest thing for me is I'm surprised. The biggest surprise for me is, the Big Ten just banned it in a sense. The SEC took a step further, and the coach gets banned or is gone for 50% or suspended for 50% of the game, like the season. They are fined 50% of that sport's operating budget. So like, it's not like the SEC is, everyone's like they try to get the best, try to do their, but they're the ones that are making it so that they can't. The teams can't do it.
I don't think they're really a big fan of what Lane Kiffin's trying to do there. And honestly, their basketball team too. Their basketball team, R.J. Lewis as
Auburn.
well. They are. This feels like they're just going against the rules because even some of these players in the NFL that came back for LSU, for example, are transferring from like other schools in the SEC, which is illegal, and all that. They're trying to bypass all that. So I think that's really what's making SEC a bit mad here. So we'll keep an eye on it. Obviously, I think there's hard to report on it right now because every hour there's a new update about another lawsuit or another change that's happened or another player that's trying to go back, and so we'll give an update on it next week to see where things land at that point. And then a follow up from one of our recent podcasts is that there have been some quarterback decisions made. So we have Keelan Russell, the sophomore redshirt freshman, has been named the quarterback one at Alabama. Blake Berlowitz has been named the quarterback one over 5-star quarterback Jared Curtis at Vanderbilt. A true freshman, which is I was shocked they went this way, but true freshman Faison Brandon is the quarterback one at Tennessee. Aaron Philo, quarterback one at Florida, and KJ Jackson at Arkansas. So from there, there's still about I would say for many teams about another week of training camp left before they really have to give them at least a week to get ready for their first game. Any surprises there so far, or anything that stands out to you as could be a significant quarterback as we go forward here in the season?
Yeah. The biggest one for me is the Vanderbilt, and choosing Blaze over Jared Curtis. I mean, they are paying Curtis highest rated player ever to go to Vanderbilt, and he was going to Vanderbilt because he expected to be the starter day one. And looking at like everyone's reporting and everything on this, it seems like they were super close. They were super head to head on who would be the starter
Yeah.
going into the season. And I think I don't know why the coach at Vandy put Blaze over Jared. I understand maybe the playing time, but they are saying that they're both going to play the first game. It's
They
not
are.
like they're so why not your if I just don't I see like we're at the point in college football where if you're not playing, why am I here? I'm going to
Yeah.
transfer. So you got a guy that
I think they're trying to ease him into it. Honestly, Blaze, he was with the offensive coordinator, what, New Mexico State was it? Um, where Diego Pavia, they were both there together. They both transferred into Vanderbilt together with the offensive coordinator. So he's been in the system for a few years. I think they probably want to throw him out there and see how he does it because if they're both equal and see he has more experience, and then maybe sort of like what Clemson did over time, put the 5-star guy in once you feel like he's ready, has the good handle of the offense. But Jess, what do you think? What do you think about that decision there by Vanderbilt?
Um, I find it pretty surprising. Like Jordan said, I mean, this is the guy that they paid a ton of money to flip. I believe it was from Georgia. Um, and if he entered with the expectation to be the starter, I think for a program like Vanderbilt that they would risk potentially him leaving in the transfer portal all but immediately, like pretty much as soon as he'd be able to, because they promised him one thing and then didn't give it to him. Uh, I wonder if they're kind of trying to find a way to circumvent any of that kind of decision by either of the quarterbacks by being like, look, you guys are going to go head to head. You're both going to get playing time in a real game, and
Whoever does best wins it, right?
yeah, pretty much. Instead of just being like, eh, there's some potential questions about, like camp battles and favoritism, but, if one guy is, if it's so close, but they want to lean one way, but now they can get it out in the public on national television, you know, I feel like the party that loses won't have as much ground to stand on, as it were. So I think they could be trying to use that as a way to get their decision, like kind of made for them almost.
Yeah, and I mean, whoever it's hard these days because they probably did tell him he was going to play early. But if they feel like it's very close, that they just want to see him in action to see which one is going to actually do it in a game environment. Because if Blaze goes out there and plays better, I think no matter how much you're paying Jared Curtis, you got to play the person that's going to play better, in my opinion. So
but
that's
but if they're so close and you're going to do that anyway, why not name the guy that you're thinking is going to be your savior and don't want him to transfer? Why would you name Blaze that if you're going to do this anyway? Why name a quarterback at all?
well, maybe they're just saying it's close, and it actually is Blaze that is playing better. But they
Well,
want
no,
it.
like when I was looking and like Sports Illustrated was talking about it and a couple other sites were talking about it's super close. Like it's not like it wasn't like a blowout. Blaze was better.
Yeah, I'm to your point. If it is even, that's what I think. That's what Tennessee did, right? They went with the true freshman Faison Brandon over George McIntyre because it was pretty even, but they felt like the 5-star quarterback Faison Brandon has the more of the upside, maybe a lower ceiling, but you want to go with the upside that you're paying right away. If it's even, you go to the person that can do it, elevate your program even more. And so, I am surprised in that regard. If it is very close, why they wouldn't put Curtis out there, but I don't know. I felt like if Blaze is anything like Pavia and knows the offense well, maybe they feel like they can get something out of him. They want to just make it as even as possible going in there. So I don't know. We'll see how it turns out week one. Um, all right, so that's a little bit about the quarterbacks. Again, I'm interested to see what Faison Brandon looks like in Tennessee. It's hard as a true freshman is to come out there, especially in the SEC, to to play against some of those defenses. So we'll see how he does. And the other ones I think was expected. We think we all called Aaron Philo and KJ Jackson here, and then Keelan Russell. I think we all called that as well. And I think he'll be good, but probably has some up and downs there at Alabama. So something again we'll keep an eye on throughout the season. All right, let's move ahead to our next session of In the Flat or Out of Bounds. This time I'm going to tell you a team that will win a conference. You tell me if you think that team will win the conference, and if not, who is going to win the conference. So we'll start with the Big 12. Texas Tech will win the Big 12. Jordan, agree or disagree?
I agree. I think their schedule kind of favors them getting to the Big 12 and then being able to beat the team that they're in with. I feel like that's the biggest thing for them. But if I had to choose someone else, it would be BYU. But Texas Tech seems like the clear favorite going into the season for sure, and I think they're going to be that clear favorite going throughout the season.
Jess, what do you think?
I think Texas Tech should win. I think even with the questions surrounding some of the quarterback stuff, I think they've got the best roster in the Big 12, and I think there is a decent amount of continuity. It's a little bit paid for, but whose roster isn't these days, am I right?
Right. It's hard not to. In fact, they're not even probably in the top 5 most expensive rosters.
They were like number 3 or something last year. They were way up there, and then all of a sudden, just like now Texas is up there. Bama spent a pretty penny. Oregon spent a lot to retain a lot of their guys. I mean, I saw something like between just the top of the Big Ten alone is like paying their rosters like close to like $200 million total. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw also today, Tommy Castellanos, who was at Florida State last year, the quarterback, he signed with Texas Tech and is going to be with them now because of one of the court rulings. So he'll be probably backing up the quarterback there. But
as we enter week 0 and he's now able to transfer, they need to figure this out, man. That's ridiculous.
It's like a late free agent signing jumping into the season. So we'll see if that
What
has
is
any
he, like
impact.
a 36-year-old vet, and a guy got injured, so they need to sign him to a vet minimum. It's week 5 already.
Hey man, just wait, Joe Flacco.
Just wait till before the national championship game. They'll be picking people up.
Yeah, it'll be like Joe Flacco back at Ohio. Comes back. He found out he had 2 years of eligibility, and because of COVID, and now Joe Flacco's on Ohio State because Julian Sand got hurt and all the other quarterbacks got hurt.
All right. So for me, I think Texas Tech does win. I do think BYU is the closest, obviously, competitor. I just don't feel like they can get over to their beating. They don't play Texas Tech in the regular season, so it'll come down to them two probably playing in the Big 12 championship game. I just feel like Texas Tech has their number until BYU can prove they can beat them. I can't predict that. All right, ACC, Miami wins. Agree or disagree, Jess?
Yeah, Miami I think is the only real viable team in the ACC. I mean, maybe Louisville.
I don't know if they
maybe
win,
Louisville, but I just think with what
SMU.
we've seen from Miami, SMU, but I just feel like Miami's still just a tier above everyone else right now, at least until proven otherwise.
Yeah. What about you, Jordan? Who do you got? Do you think Miami's winning the ACC?
Yeah, I think Miami is. Maybe Louisville or SMU could squeak in there, but I just don't see someone beating Miami right now, especially off the high they have from last year, and I think they're just going to roll into this year. I just did see that somehow some teams play 8 conference games and some teams play 9 in the SEC.
SEC? Yeah, I think there's some conferences that are still working through the realignment pieces there, so I think till they get it all done, that's what's happening.
It's just strange. But yeah, no, I don't think any team. I think Miami rebuilt after last year's, the losing, and I think they got some of the better offensive pieces in college football. So
I agree. My only worry about Miami this year is the offensive line is good. They lost a lot on the offense and defensive line, so I know they can reload pretty well. They've been recruiting very well. It's just if they had any kind of misses or injuries along those lines throughout the year, that might come back and hurt them in a game or two. That's something to keep an eye on. All right, Big Ten. Ohio State wins. Jordan, agree or disagree?
I have Ohio State. Yeah. I don't see Ohio State not winning. Sorry, but
Jordan, it
Tony is
sounds
not a
like
happy
there's,
camper here.
you know,
Tony is not a happy camper right now.
I don't know why I'm laughing. But I don't see Ohio State not winning the conference. I think they just have better.
Jordan, get yourself
Team.
together, man.
I'm sorry.
It's not like you just said
No,
Northwestern's gonna win it all.
Sorry, Jess's computer. I don't know if you heard that. Sounded like it was going to take off and fly away.
I thought there was like a UFO landing in the background. But
Yeah, no,
you know.
I don't know why. My thing, I think I need a new laptop already. This thing,
Well, we told you. What was that model you bought? It was some weird name. You told us
It was
about.
like
it's an Asus.
Oh, that was not the one you told us before. I thought, but maybe.
No,
I don't know.
no.
I thought it was some weird
Yeah.
name. Okay.
But I think Ohio State has one of the best offenses of college football. I don't think I'm with Tony on the kind of the sense can Oregon get over that hump, and I don't know if they can. I think Ohio State's been at that hump and past that hump for a while now, and I don't see them not winning it this
And
year.
it's hump day. We're recording this. So all comes
Oh, there you
together.
go.
Yeah, I mean, I have Ohio State winning it. I wouldn't be shocked if Oregon or Indiana won it, but I think Ohio State is the favorite, and I think it's for a reason. As we were talking a bit before we started recording, Tony, I think Indiana, they've got all this returning talent that should be allowed to play, but who knows right now with the Big Ten's ruling about some of these guys who are returning players. But they did it so early and before the ruling that I'm not sure they're gonna be restricted too much. Oregon didn't have anybody go pro and then return, if I'm not mistaken. They just had guys that could go pro return.
Decided not to. Yeah, exactly.
So they've got so much talent returning, particularly on defense. And Dante Moore, obviously, an experienced quarterback, one of the best quarterbacks in the country. Try to dodge the Jets and might still end up going anyways. And then ending up with the Jets anyways. But I think right now Ohio State is the favorite. I think they are deservedly so, but said that entering last year as well, so who knows?
Yeah, so I think I have Indiana winning the Big Ten right now. Now, if there's some court ruling that half their team is not eligible, then obviously I reserve the right to change my pick later on. Yeah, I do. I do think
No, you don't.
everything on defense, if they get back, I mean, they're going to have one of the best defenses in the country. They got some really good offensive portal additions as well with Josh Hoover and Nick Marshall. So I do like I like what they have, and I mean, until they get beat again, I mean, I'll just say Indiana, I think, will go for the Big Ten again. So we'll see if that happens. All right. For SEC, this will be an interesting one here. So Georgia wins the SEC. What do you think, Jess?
I think Texas is going to win it. I mean, I know I am a bit of I'm the Arch Manning guy, but I do think that they have a lot of talent on both sides of the football. I think they have a chance to have like a top 5 defense in the country. They just have so much talent there. Obviously the additions of Cam Coleman and in the offensive line, they made 1 or 2 moves, and they got the running backs. Now, what was it? From Boston College, I want to say, the running back. Trying to remember the name. It eludes me at the moment.
Oh,
but
you talking about Hollywood Smithers? Is that what you're talking about?
yes, thank you. So they've got the talent. Some of the stories coming out of their scrimmages haven't been great, but the last one was like really bizarre, being with how hot it got. It got like over 120, and it was like, what are you doing even practicing in that? Like, what are you doing?
Sounds like the excuses are starting down there in Austin.
They are certainly it. It's not sounding great, but I have faith in what they're doing there, and also just like I have high expectations for LSU, but I don't think they're going to be a 1-year turnaround national champion. Georgia's got plenty of questions on offense. we expect the defense to be good, but they haven't been able to have a great, consistent offense since Brock Bowers and Lad McConkey left. Bama's got their own questions, and they're starting Russell now. He's young and inexperienced. Ole Miss, are they going to be able to continue? Trinidad came back, but who knows? So I just think that while I wouldn't be shocked if Texas doesn't win it, if they don't, and if they're just like barely making the playoff or, God forbid, miss, there's going to be a lot of questions about them going into next year. Coaches might start to get fired. Who knows what's going to happen with Arch, Cam Coleman, those guys. It'll be ungood.
All right, Jordan. Georgia winning?
Yeah, Georgia's winning. I can't pick Texas. No. I just think Georgia has always been able to reload, no matter if they don't look great, but they always find a way to win. And I feel like, yes, it's a different Texas team this year, but we've seen multiple times over the last couple of years, even with Arch, where they haven't found a way to win in those big games, and I think Georgia can and somehow will. Especially
and Georgia has Texas's number too, by the way. So
yeah, like always. I mean, but I just it really I get where Jess is coming from. Texas has all the pieces, has everything they need to do it, to win the SEC, to make a run in the college football playoffs. But are they going to be able to be cohesive enough to make that run? And there's too many question marks on that. We've seen Georgia do it with the question marks. I mean, how many of you here thought Stetson Bennett was going to be anything? Texas hasn't shown me anything like that. Georgia has. And Kirby Smart knows how to get the best out of his guys every week, no matter if they're a 3-star or a 5-star.
For me, I do have Georgia winning. We'll talk about my playoff bracket in a bit, but I don't have Texas making the playoffs, so I'm going to go ahead and just throw that out there. I think their schedule is too difficult. I think they'll lose 3 games and then miss the playoffs. So let's move to the next one. Who is the best Group of 5 champion? So the favorites for the Group of 5 are Navy, Western Kentucky, Miami of Ohio, UNLV, Boise State, James Madison, or someone else. So I'll open it up to you, Jordan. Who do you think will be the best Group of 5 champion, and who will make it to the playoff?
I definitely think Boise State will be the best team, but I feel like the Group of 5 is that like weird. It's kind of weird this year. Boise State has been that consistent team recently, but James Madison is that scary team that has somehow came up from the FCS and dominated their conference year in and year out so far. But I still think Boise State is just going to be able to get that nod over other teams right now. They just, especially going into a new conference this year, I just see, yeah, the Pac, is it 6? How many are there? 7 of them?
8? I can't remember. Oh, who knows now?
Pac 8?
Pac something. 2 Pac.
Pac 9, I think. Pac 10, something like that. Yeah. But I just think that's going to help them a little more. Just their conference, not who's in their conference, but the name of their conference.
It's got to mean something, right? All right, Jess, who you got as the best Group of 5 champion?
I also have Boise State. I think Jordan and I might have the exact same 12. But I like that their quarterbacks come back. What is it? Mason Maddox or Madsen. Maddox Madsen. So they're going to have some stability there. They're going to get maybe a bit of a benefit of the doubt by switching over into the Pac-12, which is going to provide some brand recognition boosting, I think, for where they're going to end up in the rankings. Some concern there with the left tackle spot, but even with that, last year they were able to control the ground game. No Gianti, but they still averaged like 200 plus yards on the ground or something. It was ridiculous. Um, so I'm putting my money on Boise State there.
No, it's good. I mean, it's always, I think Boise's kind of everybody's go-to for this answer usually. I didn't like how Boise played throughout last year, though. I feel like quarterback position.
Well, Maddox got injured for a stretch there, missed a few games.
Yeah,
So
even with him in there, I just didn't feel like he's what I expect from a Boise State quarterback. Maybe again, another year in the system, he improves. Um, but I tend to lean toward Navy just because with some of the teams leaving or moving throughout the different conferences, I think they have the ability to win their way through that one. The only other team I want to keep an eye on is UNLV. If they get the quarterback situation straight, I like obviously Dan Mullen's there. He's terrible recruiter, but he does coach very well with the team he usually gets. Now Jackson Arnold is there, and he's having a quarterback battle, and so we'll see who the quarterback actually is. But I'm interested to see what they look like this year. That's going to be one of the key games this week. I think UNLV and Memphis play. So that'd be the other team I watch out for. From right now, my pick would be on Navy as the best Group of Five champion. All right, now what y'all been waiting for, our 18th annual college football playoff predictions. So we're going through each bracket here. Hopefully this share will work this time. It's if our Riverside here will actually let us.
been having issues all day.
Oh, look, it doesn't work. So let's see. We'll see if this works. 1 second. All right, Jess. So take us through your playoff picks here. Kind of take us through for those that don't have the ability to see visually. Take us through your 1 through 12 and kind of how you see your playoff bracket working itself out.
So I ended up with Notre Dame 1, Ohio State 2, Texas 3, Miami 4, Oregon 5, Georgia 6, Indiana 7, Texas Tech 8, Bama 9, LSU 10, BYU 11, and Boise State 12. I think that in the 8-9 matchup, I have Bama winning. I think by that point, I like Russell. He was the guy that I thought that they would go with, although I was a little surprised that the coaching staff didn't choose the vet who might have more experience and just be able to maybe not give you the highs, but wouldn't give you the lows of a guy who's, I mean, he's not a true freshman. Russell played, I think, very sparingly last year and beat up on Eastern Illinois or something. But, you know, the guy that would give them more job security, theoretically. But I like the upside of Russell. I think they're, you know, over the course of the year, he's going to get better and better. They have 4 new pieces there on the offensive line, but they're big, they're strong, they're tough. And I think they'll gel well enough to get them into the playoff and win a round 1 game. Oregon, Boise State, just a complete class difference. Oregon is just going to beat the you-know-what out of Boise State there. In the 7-10, I have Indiana and LSU. And I actually have LSU upsetting Indiana. I think a lot of Indiana's success came from a lot of these guys that they had last year that all kind of just went pro with Omar Cooper and Mendoza. They lost a couple of linemen. And while they do have a bunch of guys returning, I just don't have enough faith in Indiana to kind of repeat and be able to just do what they did last year, where even if they weren't like the more talented team, the coaching made up for it. I don't think they have as much talent this year. LSU went out, and boy, did they pay for their talent. And Kiffin is a good enough coach that I think that Cignetti is not going. I just don't see that gap being, you know, taking people by such surprise this year. Georgia BYU, I think Georgia been there, done that. Kind of what Jordan was saying. Like, even though I don't have the most faith in a lot of the pieces there, I just think good enough. Kirby Smart's been there, done that. I think Georgia will do enough to get past round 1. In the 1-9, I have Notre Dame beating Alabama. I think Notre Dame, people are going to complain about how easy their schedule is, and it's true. But I think what's also true is outside of Jeremiah Smith, I think they have the best like pound for pound, regardless of position, player in the country, and Leonard Moore. They have so much talent. They've built it up well. I think this is going to be their year to really make a run. And again, I don't think Alabama's quite there yet. I think Russell is going to emerge as that guy, but he's not going to be enough, and I don't think they have the total pieces enough to beat Notre Dame. Miami versus Oregon. I like a lot of Miami's pieces. I think they're going to be the clear-cut best team in the ACC. I think Oregon is up there as one of the most dominant, talented teams in the country this year. I think there are going to be very few teams that are on Oregon's level with all their returning talent, the experience of Dante Moore. I think Oregon gets it done. Ohio State versus LSU in the 2-10. After upsetting one Big Ten team, LSU is going to meet the true top dog, in my opinion, in the Big Ten. And I think Ohio State is going to hand LSU its behind in the second round. I don't think LSU, they went out and paid for all that talent. Guess what? Ohio State's paying for all of theirs, and they've got just as much, if not more. Texas, Georgia, I think Texas gets it done. I think Texas is going to lose, one game in the regular season. That's going to be to Ohio State, and that's going to be early. And I think certain things out of the camps are going to be that, Texas is still, they've got some gel issues, wide receivers running the wrong routes, offensive linemen not knowing the scheme correctly. I think all of that is going to be resolved by the midpoint of the season, and I think they're going to go on a run. And I think that's going to continue with beating Georgia in the second round. Semifinals, Notre Dame, Oregon, Ohio State, Texas. Notre Dame over Oregon. I think I just like CJ Carr a bit more than Dante Moore. Didn't love how Dante Moore looked when the lights got really bright last year in the playoffs. And he had to go up against some of the better competition. He really struggled. And Ohio State versus Texas, rematch of the semifinal. What was that, 2 years ago? I think Ohio State does it again. Just think that for as talented as Texas and Ohio State both are, I think the high-end talent that Ohio State has, particularly on the outsides with Jeremiah Smith in particular, I just think that's going to be enough to get it done. I think I trust Ohio State's offensive line just a bit more. And then we get into Ohio State, Notre Dame, rematch of the final 2 years ago, and I have the same result, Ohio State over Notre Dame. I think, again, we're really splitting hairs here. I just think that the overall massive talent that Ohio State has, I think the coaching's going to be relatively even. I just think Ohio State's a bit more talented. Who knows what? I'm not thrilled. As much as I love Notre Dame's roster, I just think Ohio State's going to have a bit better of a running back room. I think they're going to be able to control the clock. I think CJ Carr is going to make his plays. I just don't think it's going to be enough. And with that, it was nice recording this podcast with you guys. I'm about to get kicked off again. Can't wait to see you guys both have Notre Dame winning it all.
All I know is that I'd much rather have Notre Dame's running back room than Ohio State. So you'll see that this year with Aeneas Williams, who, if you don't recall, was pretty dynamic in the 2024 college football playoff while Jeremiah Love was hurt. So I will love to come back to this conversation on the running backs when we get to that point. But let's move on to Jordan here. Jordan, yeah, basically the same.
I messed up, and I was busy at work when I filled out the bracket. I flipped Texas and Georgia. So, if you can, it doesn't really change too much.
So, Texas, you have number 7 here.
Yes.
And Georgia wins the... Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yes. And then it's going to be this,
So, Georgia's beating Indiana here. Okay.
Yeah. That was my fault. It's been a long week, and it's only Wednesday.
All right, sir. Well, hey, just go over anything you want to go over here. How did you come to your top 12 here in Notre Dame, Texas in the final?
Well, it was pretty easy to come up with, 1 being Notre Dame, and 2 being Ohio State. Now the rest, I took a hat and put them all in there and just started picking them out.
Real deep-seated analysis.
Yes. No, but 1 Notre Dame, 2 Ohio State, 3 Georgia, 4 Miami. You know, you can't really go wrong with the top conference champions. 5 Oregon, just because 6 Indiana, 7 Texas, 8 Texas Tech, 9 Bama, 10 LSU, 11 BYU, and then 12 Boise State. So to start, I got, the 8 and 9. Is that 8 and 9? I can't zoom in that far.
8 and 9, yes. Texas Tech versus Alabama.
There we go. Yeah, 8 and 9. Texas Tech, versus Alabama. I have Bama on that one. I don't see. I'm good. I got zoomed in. We're good.
I know you're getting old, so.
Hey, man. Not as old as you, Grandpa.
I can see, that's the difference.
And then I got 5 Oregon against Boise State. I mean, Jess said it correctly before. I think it's beautiful. In my head, it's beautiful that we're letting these group of 5 teams in, but until one actually beats a Power 5 team in the college football playoffs, it's gonna be a blowout like always. Then 7-10 Texas, and then 10 LSU. I have Texas winning that one. I think being in Texas is the big game changer for Texas in that one. I think they'll be able to hold it off just because it's at home. I think with how it turned out last year and how angry fans were and coaches were and players were about getting left out, I think it's going to be different at home for Texas. And then Indiana, BYU, I think Indiana is going to have just a stronger team, be able to get past that. I think Notre Dame blows out Bama. I don't think Bama's the same. If it was, it would be a bigger question if it was Nick Saban's Bama. But we are long gone from Nick Saban's Bama. I think Notre Dame wins it all, if you guys didn't understand that already. But I don't see Notre Dame not being able to beat a Bama team. They have the better defense. They're going to have one of the best, if not the best defense in college football. Like Jess said, Lennon Moore, hands down the best, at least the best corner, if not the best player in college football. CJ Carr, second year under his belt. Biggest question mark is that running back room, but I think that's going to be straightened out in the first couple weeks. And then 4 Miami against Oregon. I think Oregon takes that one. I think Oregon is going to be able to handle all of the Miami's offensive power. I think Oregon has one of the more depth teams, especially on offense. They have a really good offensive line depth, which a lot of teams can't say. And then 2 Ohio State versus Texas. I have Ohio State winning that one. I think Ohio State is going to be able to beat Texas twice because they play so early in the season. If I'm not mistaken, week 2.
Week 2.
Yeah. If it was later in the season, I feel like that's a bigger thing. But with it being so early in the season, I think, everybody talks about it's hard to beat a team twice, but I don't see this being even like playing the same team. We're so far into the season, it's not the same team. And then I have Georgia, Indiana. I think Georgia wins that one and was able to, like Jess said, they have been there continuously. They haven't missed a beat on at least making the college football playoffs and being a top SEC team and the top team in the college football in general. And I think with a lot of key players, Indiana losing, and I know Tony talked about if the players from the NFL that came to Indiana are actually on the team. I don't see that being happening, but you never know. So I have Georgia winning that one. I have Notre Dame beating Oregon. Simple as that. I think Jess said it also. I think CJ Carr is one of the most well-rounded quarterbacks that we have seen at Notre Dame, at least. And I think he's going to be able to put up numbers during in those lights, and it's going to be we're going to be so far into the season that it's going to be a lot of Notre Dame's offense is on his shoulders instead of last year when a lot of it was on Jeremiah, Love's, not Lara, whatever, yeah, Love's shoulders. It's going to be on CJ's this year, and I think he's going to be able to just be able to handle the pressure, handle the lights. We saw him last year against Miami. Yeah, it was his first start, but he definitely handled that really well. And then I have Ohio State versus Georgia. Tony didn't change somehow. Somehow Notre Dame plays Texas. I think Texas somehow gets.
You told me. This is what you told me. You told me Texas.
I'm sorry. I was my fault. It was my fault. Okay. I don't see. It's Ohio State, Georgia. I think Ohio State falls to Georgia.
Okay.
I think it happens. I just see.
That's the analysis. Okay.
That's the analysis. Now, I just think this will be one of the better games in the college football playoffs that we see. I think in Georgia, Ohio State, they have so many of the same parts on defense, and that they're pretty similar. It's the biggest question mark for me with Ohio State is Julian Sayin going to be that guy? And I have seen a couple of things on people saying he's not the same caliber quarterback we've seen at Ohio State. And Georgia will be able to lock down Smith and be able to control the game a little better than majority of Ohio State's opponents. And I think it's time for Kirby Smart to get back into form and take out Ohio State. And I have Notre Dame, Georgia. I got Notre Dame winning it. I've talked about Notre Dame a lot. I just, yeah. There you go.
All right. So we got Ohio State, Notre Dame so far. So let's take a look at mine. I'll go for it really quick. So I have number 1. I have Indiana. So I feel like, now again, I feel like they're going to be good if they get some of those players or all those players back from the pros. I think they're going to be really good. And so I have Indiana winning the Big Ten and getting a number 1 seed. I have Notre Dame being undefeated this year, getting number 2 seed. I have Georgia winning the SEC, getting number 3 seed, and I have Miami with their only loss being to Notre Dame, winning the ACC, coming in at 4th. Number 5 would be Ohio State, Texas Tech 6, Ole Miss 7, Penn State 8, and people are probably like, Penn State, that's crazy. But they have a really terrible schedule. They actually avoid Oregon, Ohio State, and Indiana this year in the Big Ten. So their big game is USC, and that game is in Penn State for a whiteout game. So if they can win that game, there's realistic chance they can go 11-1 potentially with this schedule. So again, there could be some growing pains there in the first year, new coaching staff, but that's what I'm picking there. Then Alabama 9, Oregon 10, BYU 11, and then I have Navy as my group of 5 winning. I feel like we always say Boise State, and it's always some other team that gets it. I do feel like it's going to be Navy this year, but that's always that group of 6 is always like a dart. You're just kind of throwing, hoping it sticks on someone that wins. So going through this really quick. So Penn State, Alabama, I have Alabama winning that one. While I think Penn State will be able to get here, I don't think they'll have the talent yet to win this game. I think Kellen Russell, I do like what he's able to do, and I think he can provide a good spark to their offense throughout the year. Ohio State, Navy, I think that's just going to be a mismatch. Ohio State will just out-talent Navy there and slow them down. Ole Miss, Oregon, I just until I see it with Dan Lanning in the playoff games, I just can't buy him, especially against Ole Miss with Trinidad Chambliss and Keelan Lacey. I feel like the offense will be able to outscore Oregon and do enough on defense there. Texas Tech, BYU, I think Texas Tech will win that. Until I see BYU actually beating Texas Tech, I can't have them beating them in the playoffs. So I have Texas Tech winning there. Now next round, I have Indiana, Alabama for a rematch of last year. I think the exact same thing is going to happen again. Indiana will just shut down the Chris Tide offense and kind of blow them out here. Miami, Ohio State, also a rematch from last year, but I think this year Miami will continue. And I just think they have the talent and the toughness to beat Ohio State this year again. Notre Dame, Ole Miss, I think the defense will shut down both the running game and Chandler Stewart because I think they're built to do so. So I have Notre Dame coming out on top there. And then Georgia, Texas Tech, I think that's just Georgia will outclass them pretty easily, I think, in that round. Then you have Indiana, Miami, a rematch in last year's national championship game. I think Indiana wins that again, just because I think they'll have Miami's number. And then Notre Dame, Georgia, a rematch of a couple years ago. I do think Notre Dame brings that toughness and plays that quarterback very well against Georgia. Understands what they do well and kind of get under the skin of Kirby Smart. So I think Notre Dame wins that. And then I have the Indiana State Championship rematch here from the playoffs 2 years ago. The last team to beat Indiana was 2 years ago. Notre Dame beat them at home in the playoffs. I think they'll be the next team to beat them on the championship game for the national title. And tears will be had, and I will retire this podcast as a Notre Dame championship. So that's what I'm thinking. I think, for me, Notre Dame is – I know you mentioned it. Everybody is kind of doubting the Notre Dame running game this year, but I think it's going to be pretty good. I mean, they have really well recruited very well. They have 5 strong running backs in that room. I think Aeneas Williams, he's going to be probably the best pass-catching running back in the country this year. He's going to be a real big weapon for C.J. Carr. And then the ones around him do really well, all have different skill sets that they can do. I'm interested to see who emerges as the kind of year goes on as the number 2 and 3 running backs for Notre Dame this year. Wide receiver, my only worry is on the boundary as Quincy Porter from Ohio State. This recently had like a knee procedure, so he's probably going to be out for at least the next few weeks. But they have enough young talent that I think they'll be good until he comes into form. And then they have some really good tight ends that can kind of fill in the blank with Jordan Faison. And Greathouse is back fully healthy and in training camp is said to be looking really good, back to his playoff form. So I like the receivers there. Defense, I think, is the best defense in the country. The best set of linebackers, I think, top 5 defensive line. The best corners, the best safeties. I feel like they will. The reason they win the championship is going to be because of their defense and C.J. Carr making timely plays, and so that's why I have Notre Dame winning it all this year. And we'll see if it happens. There's been too many people picking Notre Dame though, so I feel like it's some kind of jinx. So I hope it doesn't happen. But
don't worry, I didn't.
Well, you know.
Oh wait, what, Jess? We couldn't hear you. Sorry.
Oh, you're breaking up.
Oh, you're breaking up. Oh, we used to drop you out. Oh.
Do you want everybody picking Notre Dame or not? Make up your mind.
I don't know. Maybe. I feel like
When have all 3 of us picking a team to win a game or win it all worked out well?
I will throw out last
never.
year. I will throw out last year. Jess, you picked Clemson to win the title in the preseason.
I did.
Jordan picked Notre Dame. I picked Notre Dame. None of them made the playoffs, by the way. Notre Dame or Clemson. So maybe that's a bad sign that Ohio State and Notre Dame will not make the playoffs. So we'll see if that happens. So, all right, let's do a rapid fire here because these games are terrible. North Carolina, TCU, week 0. I'm picking TCU because I think North Carolina continues to be a dumpster fire. I don't even know who's coaching defense. I guess Bill Belichick is because his son's still out for whatever reason. So, Jesse, you got?
I've got TCU. It's an international game. It's going to be weird. TCU's got a bit more experience and continuity going on. And like you said, the coaching situation at UNC is just weird.
Yeah. Jordan.
Oh, yeah. I got TCU. Can I pick actually this country of Ireland to actually win that one? Is that an option?
I would probably say
I don't know if anybody's really going to win.
They're probably
okay,
the
well,
losers.
Also, can we get Notre Dame in Ireland, please?
I mean,
we did.
That's what it should be. Yeah, it should be. That's the only team that should be allowed there. But I think
they should be the team that plays every year.
I think the winner though should be America because it's not here. This game's not taking place here. So
yeah, but just the dumpster fire of North Carolina. I mean, I think it's worse than a dumpster fire, but I think that's the way to put it.
Yep. All right, San Jose State, USC. Jordan, who you got?
USC.
Jess.
USC.
Yeah, this is the game they wanted to cancel Notre Dame for, so hope they enjoy it. USC, hope they win. Hope they lose actually, but they just for karma's sakes, but they win. They should win. This is probably the game of the week: North Carolina State or Virginia. Interested to see how these teams. Virginia, I mean, they looked pretty good all last year. North Carolina State, it's very hit or miss. I am leaning North Carolina State, but because of the quarterback play, but I don't know exactly what to expect from the defense this year because they were not as good as they have been in years past last year. So, who do you got, Jess?
Like you, I am leaning NC State. I am going with the upset here. CJ Bailey is the only. I mean, it's only two teams, but he's the returning quarterback. Virginia does have upperclassmen at pretty much every position.
Their offensive line is like fifth, sixth, and seventh year players.
Yeah, that's where my hesitancy comes in. But I think at the end of the day, you need to have the quarterback play, and that's why I'm leaning NC State.
All right, Jordan, what do you got?
Same. I think NC State is going to have the quarterback that has more experience. So I have NC State.
That means Virginia's probably going to win because we all picked North Carolina State.
Yeah, it's all right.
Hawaii at Stanford. I think Hawaii won last year. Was it last year when Stanford went there? Could have been the year before. I will say Stanford, I guess, but I don't feel strongly about it. This because they're still in a rebuild of new coaches here. So, but I'll pick Stanford just because it's at Stanford. I don't know if that means anything because probably won't be anybody there in the stands, but I'll pick Stanford. Who do you got, Jess?
I'm leaning Hawaii. I like I think the quarterback. What is it? Micah Alejado. Yeah, he's one of the top recording quarterbacks in the group of six, right? That's his name, Micah Alejado.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think Stanford, I just don't expect much out of them this year. I think Hawaii's going to get this done. They're going to be one of the better Mountain West teams. I think they're expected to be like competing for the title, but yeah, give me Hawaii. It's,
All right.
it's not too much of a travel, but it's it's not too bad for them. So
Jordan, who you got?
Just so you know, Stanford did lose to Hawaii last year, like 23-20, something like that.
something like that. It was.
No, I looked it up. Sorry. Yeah. But no, I think I'm gonna go with Hawaii too. I think Stanford is still a ways away from their rebuild, and I like the quarterback at Hawaii stats compared to, or just play compared to Stanford's.
Stanford is starting a Michigan quarterback, and that was not great. I forgot his name off the top of my head.
The one that can't throw the ball. There's a lot.
63 yards against Ohio State. That when they won that game. So,
but yeah. Oh, Davis Warren.
Yeah, Davis Warren. All right. It could be another game in a week kind of contender. Memphis at UNLV here. I'll go UNLV. It's at UNLV. I wonder about the quarterback position as I mentioned earlier, but I feel like Dan Mullen will throw enough things at this team to win it offensively, and I'll see how they do defensively there.
Yeah, I'm also going to roll with UNLV. The big thing for me with Memphis is that they only have one returning starter. They have like 53 transfers. So if this game was a bit later in the year, I'd lean Memphis. But there's going to be no continuity established here. So give me UNLV.
Jordan.
Same. UNLV, you guys hit it all on the head. I feel like they're going to be the better all-around team this year.
All right. And Memphis could be better, as like you mentioned, as the year goes on with the transfers. But
I expect them to be a really solid team by end of year, but this is week 0.
It's going to take a little bit of time. Yeah.
So.
For sure. Okay, well, at least that's something this week, guys. At least it's something. I mean, well, it's not going to be much better week 1, but we're going to do with what we can. And in week 2, it really kicks off with Ohio State, Texas. So that's it for this week. As always, follow along with us on In the Flat Pod on X. Follow us on YouTube as well. We'll be posting this on YouTube with a lot of different content coming out there. And then we look forward to seeing you guys again next week. Bye.